Fun, parody, hot-blooded text, do not enter if you don't like it. Upon waking up, Zhang Xiaojian was reborn into high school. The world undergoes great changes, spiritual energy recovers, and everyone cultivates. Zhang Xiaojian awakened a C-level spirit beast called Pipi Shrimp, bird-tailed Praying Mantis Shrimp, and became an ordinary sea master. However, at this moment, he activated a system. Ding, health fist cultivation successful. Ding, the cultivation of Kaishan Pao Quan has been successful. Ding, the cultivation of Cannon Fist has been successful. Ding. Zhang Xiaojian punched out, tearing apart all the seawater in front of him, creating a vacuum passage out of nowhere. The terrifying force formed a spiritual shockwave, roaring 100-meter long, heavily armored giant-toothed shark from a kilometer away into flesh. The seabed collapses and the earth trembles. The world seems to be about to be destroyed. Book Group 8310623375, keywords of the novel. Deep Sea Boxing King without pop-ups. Download the complete set of Deep Sea Boxing King TXT, and read the latest chapters of Deep Sea Boxing King. Chapter 1. Rebirth of the Water World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Rebirth of the Water World. Hongqing No. 1 Middle School. Class 10, Grade 3. The slanting sunlight slowly passed through the window lattice and hit a young man. The empty classroom, where the students have already walked for the most part, is quiet and the chirping of insects is gradually rising. However, the young man still lay on the table, sleeping soundly. Little sword. Xiaojian, wake up. School is over. Zhang Xiaojian was vaguely awakened and said, "Oh, have you finished work yet?" "It's after school, not after work," the person encouraged Zhang Xiaojian as he saw his dejected expression on his face. "Although you have awakened a C-level spirit beast called Pipi Shrimp, you still have hope. Don't give up." Spirit beast, skin shrimp. Even though Zhang Xiaojian was still not clear-headed, he was still stunned when he heard this unfamiliar vocabulary. Zhang Xiaojian's brother Qinfen nodded and said, "That's right, from now on you will be a shrimp soldier, and I will be a crab general. Don't worry, Dad, I will take care of you no matter what." Zhang Xiaojian rolled his eyes silently. What is Qinfen's grandson saying? Why can't he understand a single word? After a moment of relaxation, Zhang Xiaojian finally woke up, but when he looked up, he was once again stunned. At this moment, a young man of about 17 or 8 years old stood in front of him, with a square face, a slightly black complexion, and thick hair. Having lush hair is the key. Qinfen is truly diligent, focusing on his studies while studying and his career after graduation. For this reason, at a young age of less than 30, my hair has been pulled out, and I am a werewolf. At this moment, Qinfen's hair not only grew back, but also his face became tender and young. Zhang Xiaojian wondered, what's going on? At this moment, a surging memory struck, like a foreign object, wildly and straightly piercing into his brain, flowing rudely. Zhang Xiaojian quickly scanned the memories in his mind and was surprised to find that he had been reborn. He was reborn into high school and the world underwent tremendous changes. The spirit beasts and skin shrimp mentioned by Qinfen earlier are special professions that emerged after the world's great changes, known as the Sea Master. Yuhai Master, a cultivator who resists the invasion of the ocean. In the 350th year of the Warring States period, the southern and northern poles of this world suddenly melted, and aquatic creatures evolved into demon tribes. In less than a few decades, the sea water continued to rise, rising by a whopping 66 meters. Even so, the sea level is still rising. Over 200 years have passed, and the global sea level has risen by a whopping 200 meters, with an average annual sea level increase of 1 meter. The disaster caused by this was that the once prosperous plain areas of Qizhou, Yenzhou, Chuzhou, Guizhou, etc. were all buried under the sea forever, turned into vast oceans, and became a paradise for the aquarium. Zhang Xiaojian was completely startled. Fortunately, his home is located on the Shimon Plateau, with an altitude between 400 and 3,500 meters. Otherwise, wouldn't it have been flooded long ago? And as the seawater gradually rose, people discovered a special energy, spiritual power, in the seawater. Under the influence of spiritual power, the size of aquatic creatures continues to increase, with piranhas turning into 2 meters, crabs into 3 meters, sea eels into 4 meters. The most terrifying thing is that these aquatic creatures have also evolved wisdom. That is to say, in this parallel water world, it is not humans standing at the top of the food chain, but the water demon race. Fortunately, spiritual power also has an effect on humans. Humans awaken spiritual beasts to transcend and possess the power of self-protection. However, the situation is still not optimistic. Nowadays, the human race is still declining, trapped on land, and the land is gradually submerged by seawater. This world is so dangerous. Zhang Xiaojian exclaimed in surprise. I won't talk to you anymore, I'll go home. Qin Fan packed his backpack and bowed to Zhang Xiaojian. Watching Qin Fan's tender figure gradually fade away, Zhang Xiaojian, who had just received his rebirth, suddenly had a sudden mental breakdown and remembered an extremely important question. He quickly shouted out. Qin Fan. I may speak more directly, but please don't misunderstand, I am also for your own good. What's going on? Zhang Xiaojian asked cautiously, please. May I ask, has your father died? Qin Fan's face turned wildly black, and the veins on his forehead jumped wildly. Climb for me. Zhang Xiaojian chatted up, but judging from Qin Fan's reaction, it seems that his father hasn't died yet. I wish I hadn't died. Qin Fan doesn't know, but the reborn Zhang Xiaojian knows. The main reason why the future Qin Fan will be bald at a young age is that his father died unexpectedly in his 3rd year of high school, leaving him and his mother, an orphan and widowed mother, living a very difficult life. Now reborn, Zhang Xiaojian has no choice but to help his brothers change their fate. Well, tonight I'll talk to Qin Fan in detail about his father's situation and take precautions. His father probably won't die easily. Will he die tonight? After all, the exact date of Qin Fan's father's death is not very clear. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaojian also remembered his parents. My heart was filled with mixed feelings in an instant. It's been a long time since I saw them. As he walked out of the school gate, Zhang Xiaojian flipped through his memories and walked nervously towards home. Looking at the surroundings, Zhang Xiaojian felt familiar and unfamiliar, joyful and heartbroken. 20 minutes later, Zhang Xiaojian arrived at a low and old residential area. He hesitated for a moment and walked to one of the buildings, climbing up to the 5th floor. Looking at the familiar door in front of him, Zhang Xiaojian took a deep breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. Dozens of breaths before finally taking out the key and opening the door, revealing a small house of about 60 square meters with 2 bedrooms and 1 living room inside. Son, have you come back? Upon hearing the door open, a joyful female face immediately emerged from the nearby kitchen. Xiaojian. A middle-aged man sitting in the living room watching TV looked slightly serious, but at this moment, he quickly walked over upon hearing the sound. Looking at the 2 faces that frequently appeared in memories, Zhang Xiaojian's tense face couldn't help but turn slightly red in his eyes. Zhang's father, Zhang Yuan, looked at Zhang Xiaojian's red-eyed expression and thought he was sad about his awakening today. He walked over and hugged his shoulder, saying, "Silly son, a man of great virtue, what's so sad about? Your parents don't have high expectations of you either, as long as you can awaken, it's great. I also inquired and found out that most people in your school are C-level spirit beasts, and there are very few B-level spirit beasts, so there's no need to worry about it." Zhang's mother, Luohan, also comforted, "Silly son, how many pounds and liang do you have? Aren't your parents clear yet? If you can wake up, it's already the smoke from your ancestral tomb." Come on, sit down and eat quickly. Zhang Xiaojian, who was originally somewhat sad, was immediately made to laugh and cry by his mother. Mom, are you comforting me or hitting me? However, what Luohan said is indeed true. According to Zhang Xiaojian's memory in his mind, Hongqing is a small county town. Among the students in Hongqing No. 1 middle school, only about 30% can awaken spirit beasts, while in big cities, it is about 40% higher. The usual awakening time is around the age of 18, and Zhang Xiaojian happened to catch this last bus. This is a relatively small probability, so Zhang Xiaojian was able to awaken, and they are already very satisfied. Among the awakened students, the majority are C. level, with relatively few B. level students, and there are only about 2.3 students in each class. Zhang Xiaojian's brother Qin Fun is one of these 2 or 3 people, awakening the B. level spirit beast, lava cancer. Zhang Xiaojian is a shrimp soldier, Qin Fun is a crab general. Well, let's eat. Today you successfully woke up, and your mother was happy. She specially prepared a big meal for you. Zhang's father smiled and pulled Zhang Xiaojian to the table. Zhang Xiaojian arrived at the dining table and saw that the dishes on top were eggplant sauce golden shrimp, broccoli fried shrimp, crispy fried shrimp, crispy egg yolk shrimp, pickled shrimp with salt and pepper, Thai sweet and spicy shrimp, dry pot spicy shrimp, shrimp skin egg soup. Oh, finally there's another soup, loofah, scallops, and shrimp soup. 8 dishes and 1 soup, all shrimp. Compared to those on Blue Star, these shrimp have a slightly larger body size, each about the size of an adult palm, with red shells and tender flesh, making them look very attractive. Zhang Xiaojian widened his eyes and couldn't help but say, Dad and Mom, are we not going to have a chance to eat shrimp in the second half of our lives? So now we can eat enough at once. What nonsense! Luohan slapped Zhang Xiaojian on the back of his head and cursed, while also placing a large shrimp on his bowl. Foolish child, this is called supplementing form with form. Eat your brain to nourish your brain, eat shrimp to nourish your shrimp. How can your skinned shrimp become stronger if you don't eat more shrimp meat to supplement it? Zhang Xiaojian. Mom. To be more precise, from a taxonomic perspective, skinned shrimp does not belong to shrimp. Shrimps belong to the order Decapita, while crustaceans belong to the order Mouthpoda. However, since the two look quite similar, they can also be considered as complementary shapes. Xiaojian thought for a moment and decided not to correct his mother's mistake, so as not to slap her head again later. P.S. If you think the book is still good, please bookmark it. Thank you. And now the real place names cannot appear, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. C.Level Spirit Beast Skin Shrimp. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 2 C.Level Spirit Beast Skin Shrimp. Under his mother's stern gaze, Zhang Xiaojian silently finished all the dishes, exuding a shrimp flavor. Zhang Xiaojian felt like he was almost turning into a shrimp. Having eaten and drunk enough, Zhang Xiaojian returned to his room, resting while continuing to flip through memories in his mind. Fortunately, from memory, although the world has undergone great changes and deep-sea invasions, Zhang Xiaojian's growth trajectory in this world is similar to his previous life. It's like occasionally inserting some foreign objects related to spiritual power, aquatic creatures, and sea masters, which seems a bit out of place. Oh, Qin Fun, why are you here? Hurry up and sit down. Excuse me, uncle and auntie. I'm looking for Xiaojian. Xiaojian, Qin Fun is looking for you. After Zhang Xiaojian rested for about half an hour, his mother's shout rang outside the door. Qin Fun, come in, I'm in the room, Zhang Xiaojian shouted. Okay, you didn't lock the door, did you? I came in. No. A sound of footsteps approached, and Qin Fun turned the door handle and walked in. At this moment, Zhang Xiaojian suddenly turned around and stared at Qin Fun with a pair of eyes. He said in a faint voice, didn't you just say you're going to rub around and not come in? Qin Fen was taken aback for a moment, and then his face quickly turned red. In the next moment, he rushed towards Zhang Xiaojian with anger and embarrassment, squeezing his neck hard. You stinky kid, I won't tell you these things again in the future. Qin Fen shouted angrily. Just joking, I really won't say anything in the future. Zhang Xiaojian quickly begged for mercy. Fart, you always say that, but you always mention it. Really? Really? This is the last time. Get lost. After a fight, the two men finally parted ways, sweating profusely. The two of them lay by the edge of the bed, although Qin Fen had pinched their necks for a while. Zhang Xiaojian touched his neck with a smirk on his face, looking happy. Why are you laughing? I will never tell you anything about Qianer and me in the future. Qin Fen said angrily. Qianer is Qin Fen's girlfriend. Alright, it's just a joke. Seeing Qin Fen's sullen expression, Zhang Xiaojian seemed a bit happy. Well, his good friend Qin Fen's life trajectory also seems to have changed little, and he has also received a drop of blood. Similarly, he was not afraid that Qin Fen's father would have an accident. Because in his previous life, Qin Fen's father passed away in a car accident while on a business trip to the southern barbarians. Now that the southern barbarians have turned into vast oceans and monsters are rampant, he shouldn't have to go on business trips anymore, right? Even if he really goes, there shouldn't be any old drivers in the sea, right? On the contrary, what Zhang Xiaojian is most worried about now is his parents, because in his previous life, his parents passed away due to overwork and illness. Why did you come here? Zhang Xiaojian asked. Qin Fen rolled his eyes and said, now that there is only one semester left until the college entrance examination, do you think you have too much time? Of course, I need to come over immediately to help you cultivate. Practicing a day earlier will give you more spiritual power, which is very important and also an important criterion for whether you can be admitted to university. I have already asked Teacher Gao to send the cultivation materials first. Good brother, I'm so moved that I'm almost getting wet. Get lost. After a fight, Qin Fen became serious and looked at Zhang Xiaojian seriously, asking, summon your spirit beast. Zhang Xiaojian asked, how can I summon it? Just extend your right hand and meditate in your heart. Whether it's a spiritual artifact or a spiritual object, once awakened, it will connect with the master's soul. Okay. Zhang Xiaojian rubbed his hands, looking excited as he suddenly transformed from an ordinary person to a superhero with extraordinary powers, which was truly exciting. Zhang Xiaojian reached out with his right palm facing upwards, silently reciting a sound of skinned shrimp in his heart. Shit. Suddenly, a light and shadow emerged from the palm of the hand, but it only lasted for less than a moment, and immediately disappeared. Zhang Xiaojian looked bewildered, but Qin Fen nodded, clearly anticipating this scene. Indeed, your spiritual power is too weak to summon your spirit beast for the time being. What does that mean? Zhang Xiaojian asked in confusion. If you wait until you reach the age of 18 to awaken, it indicates that your talent is average and your innate spiritual power is too limited to summon spirit beasts temporarily. Zhang Xiaojian was a bit speechless. So I need to cultivate and increase my spiritual power in order to see my spirit beast. Yes, that's also why I came to see you tonight, to help you cultivate spiritual power. Qin Fen continued, now open the communication tool and take a look at the information sent by Teacher Gao. Zhang Xiaojian opened the communication software and saw that he had already been pulled into a new class group. Awaken to Class 3, the group leader he sent several articles over. When a student from Hongqing No. 1 Middle School wakes up, he will automatically be promoted to the awakening class and assigned to Class 3, the same class as Qin Fen. Qin Fen clearly had read the materials and said, Yu Hai sure refers to cultivators like us who awaken spiritual objects and absorb spiritual power. From low to high, Yu Hai sure ranges from 1st grade to 9th grade, with each grade divided into early, middle, late, and peak. You have just awakened and belong to the early stage of first grade, while I am about to reach the middle stage of first grade. For us Sea Masters, spiritual power and skills are the most important. Spiritual skills are the innate skills of spirit beasts, and spiritual power is the energy to use these skills. Zhang Xiaojian nodded and understood Qin Fan's meaning. Spiritual power is equivalent to the mana in previous games, and spiritual skills are skills. Without mana, skills cannot be used. Spiritual skills are too far away for you now. Let me teach you how to cultivate spiritual power and increase it first, otherwise you won't even be able to summon spiritual beasts. Okay, Zhang Xiaojian replied. Qin Fan took out a silver watch from his pocket and put it on Zhang Xiaojian's wrist. The watch looked ordinary, but when worn on Zhang Xiaojian's wrist, the originally pitch-black screen also lit up with a number. 5.1 What is this thing? Zhang Xiaojian asked suspiciously. You'll know later, Qin Fan didn't answer immediately. The cultivation method taught to us by our school is the gathering spirit technique, and the materials sent to you by Teacher Gao are also available. I will teach you now. In the room, Zhang Xiaojian followed Qin Fan's instructions and sat cross-legged on the ground, holding his breath and speaking quietly, with no distractions in his heart. After a moment, Zhang Xiaojian immediately felt a faint warm current slowly flowing out from Dantian. He felt a slight joy in his heart and quickly followed the gathering spirit technique, guiding the warm current to flow towards the 16 orifices in his body. There are countless orifices in the human body like stars, and Zhang Xiaojian has found them for the first time, making it difficult to find these 16 orifices. However, with Qin Fan's presence, Qin Fan's hands on guidance on each acupoint successfully operated the third time. Immediately, Zhang Xiaojian felt a suction emanating from his body, absorbing the spiritual power that permeated the air. They circled around Zhang Xiaojian's body, went through layers of refinement, and finally flowed into the Dantian spirit sea, only leaving the size of a single hair. At this moment, Zhang Xiaojian also saw through his inner vision that his Dantian spirit sea was only about the size of a baby's palm, and this spiritual power the size of a hair flowed in almost imperceptible. And his spiritual beasts were immersed in this small spiritual sea, enjoying the spiritual power around them. The cultivation of a first-class sea master is a process of constantly opening up and strengthening the spiritual sea. The larger the spiritual sea, the higher the spiritual power value of the sea master. And under the nourishment of the spiritual sea, spiritual beasts will gradually become stronger. During this practice, Zhang Xiaojian practiced non-stop for 5 hours, from 6:30 p.m. after dinner to 11:30 p.m. The gathering spirit technique has also been successfully operated 10 times, absorbing spiritual power the size of 10 strands of hair. However, by this time Zhang Xiaojian had completely stopped practicing, sweating profusely and experiencing back pain and soreness. The whole person's spirit also became disoriented, and the scene in front of them all appeared ghostly. Every cultivation requires a lot of energy, and Zhang Xiaojian has reached his limit. Qin Fan looked at the silver watch on Zhang Xiaojian's wrist and saw the number on it suddenly jump, from 5.1 to 5.2. Added 0.1 points of spiritual power, that's okay. Qin Fan said. This is a spiritual power function test watch. Teacher Gao will also give you one tomorrow during class. The value on it represents your spiritual power value. Qin Fan explained, before you even practiced, your spiritual power was 5.1. After practicing all night, your spiritual power increased to 5.2. Is this speed fast or slow? Zhang Xiaojian asked. Not bad, just a little less than me. How much is a slight difference? I run the gathering spirit technique for 7 rounds to increase my spiritual power by 0.1 points. You have 10 rounds. Zhang Xiaojian is feeling a bit uncomfortable. It's not just a little short, it's just a direct difference of March 10th. Seeing Xiaojian's uncomfortable face, Qin Fan sighed and patted his shoulder, saying, Xiaojian, don't put too much pressure on yourself. After all, I will become a general in the future, and you are a small shrimp soldier. We cannot talk about each other in the same breath. Don't worry, if my father and I become generals in the future, you can be my personal guard. Get lost. Seeking collections, seeking recommendations, end of this chapter. Chapter 3. Scoring line for the college entrance examination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Scoring line for the college entrance examination. After escorting Qin Fan home, Zhang Xiaojian took a hot bath lightly and then lay in bed, ready to fall asleep. Tonight's cultivation was too tiring, he just plunged into the blanket. But he lay for a while but couldn't sleep, his mind full of scenes of tonight's cultivation. Zhang Xiaojian poked his head out of the blanket and instinctively looked at the wall of the next room. Parents, should I be asleep now? Erlao runs a fish stall in the Dongkai market of Hongqing, which is very difficult. I have to wake up before dawn every day, and because my hands are soaked in water every day, they are white and rotten, and my fingerprints are worn away. The two of them often have an indelible fishy odor on their bodies, and while walking on the road, others may inevitably feel disgusted and disdainful. In winter, the hands of the two who killed fish will suffer another punishment. In his previous life, Zhang Xiaojian went out of town to study, graduate, and work in a routine manner. However, when he finally earned some money and wanted to take his parents over to live with him, he found that the two had long been injured and sick due to years of hard work. In less than a few years, I went early. The desire to raise a son without being close is a true portrayal of Zhang Xiaojian's previous life. In this lifetime, I can't make such mistakes again. Zhang Xiaojian couldn't help but clench his fist slightly, his heart surging. Even if his cultivation talent is average, like a spirit beast, he must at least become a man who can shelter his family from wind and rain. Let parents live a happy life and never let them fall ill or tire out again. At this moment. Zhang Yuan, if you want to sleep, go to sleep. Don't keep flipping around like that, it's making me noisy. Nonsense, you keep your eyes wide open. Where did I disturb you to sleep? Suddenly, a rustling sound came to mind in the nearby room. Zhang Xiaojian was taken aback and let out a bitter smile. It turned out that not only could he not sleep, but also his parents couldn't sleep either. Zhang Xiaojian looked at the bedside and found that it was already past 1 o'clock. Will you wake up tomorrow morning, parents? In the neighboring room. Ah, I heard that Zhang Yang's talent is quite good. The one who awakened before was a B.level spirit beast called Iron-Armed Spear Shrimp. Zhang Yuan said with a sour expression, his arm resting on his head. Zhang Yang is Zhang Xiaojian's cousin, who is also the child of the uncle's family. He is the same age as Zhang Xiaojian and also in the same school, so it is inevitable that there will be some comparisons. And Zhang Xiaojian awakened, and the two happened to be in the same class, awakening class 3. In fact, it's usually okay. In front of the spirit beast that decides the big things in life, Zhang Yang is an excellent B.level spirit beast with boundless prospects, while his son is only C.level with average qualifications. Zhang Yuan naturally has some unpleasant feelings in his heart. Beside the bedside, Li Wan immediately blew her nose and stared at her, cursing loudly, Zhang Yuan, you idiot. I tell you, the spirit beast is still the best in our C.class. Ah, why? Zhang Yuan was taken aback. You're stupid, Li Wan scolded. Nowadays, global sea levels are still rising, water monsters are constantly invading, and wars are ongoing. You said Zhang Yang has a good talent. When he graduates, he will definitely be sent to the front line as soon as possible. I don't want my son to go to the front line. It's not just a passing family, it's about dying. Nowadays, there are no more than 10,000 or 8,000 Imperial Sea Masters killed in battle each year, and the mortality rate has always been high. So it's better to be a C-level spirit beast. It's not top-notch or bottoming out. Let's become an ordinary C master and live an ordinary life. After the C-level spirit beasts, there are D-level and E-level spirit beasts, with C-level in the middle, which is also the level of most C master spirit beasts. Zhang Xiaojian suddenly came to his senses and slapped his thigh. What you said is too right, my son. I dare say it's better to be a C-level spirit beast. Of course. Luohan looked proud and said, when Xiaojian graduates, I will find him a wife with a big butt and easy to have, and give birth to a chubby and white eldest son. When he rushes forward, he will also think twice. There are mothers, children, and wives waiting for him at home. That's right, Zhang Xiaojian clapped and praised repeatedly. This method is good. Young people nowadays are prone to impulsive thinking and accidents. Keep your voice down, it's making your son sleep. Oh. Zhang Xiaojian is in the next room, listening to both touching and unable to laugh or cry. In today's world, due to continuous wars, the global population has sharply decreased. The country has lowered the legal age for marriage, and as long as one reaches the age of 18, they can get married. Moreover, for every child born, the country will reward a large sum of money. It is said that there is a real example of a poor family becoming a millionaire because they gave birth to a football team to bring glory to their country. Zhang Xiaojian couldn't help but smile bitterly. Dad and Mom, we may disappoint you all. I will work hard to study and cultivate in this lifetime. Anyway, at least you two must stop working so hard and damage your health. The next day, Zhang Xiaojian woke up and found that his parents had already gone out, and there was still a steaming breakfast on the table. Zhang Xiaojian sat on the chair and silently stuffed all his breakfast into his stomach. Sigh. After finishing breakfast, Zhang Xiaojian looked at the empty tray of paper and felt a slight headache. The result of last night's cultivation has dealt a heavy blow to Zhang Xiaojian, who is eager to change his family's predicament. Ha! At this moment, Zhang Xiaojian suddenly remembered something. He was a traveler, the legendary son of the plain. Where are my cheats? Zhang Xiaojian quickly touched himself all over, but he had no necklace, no ring, nothing. Zhang Xiaojian didn't give up, his eyes curiously looked around and said longingly, System. Are you there, System Dad? Ding. The password is correct, the small Q system is starting up. Zhang Xiaojian. The conditions for activating this system seem a bit simple however. Ding, I notice that the current version is too low and the system is currently being upgraded. The expected upgrade time is 3 days and 18 hours. Zhang Xiaojian, who was originally ecstatic, stiffened instantly. Zhang Xiaojian couldn't help but carefully examine the system interface again, but only found a small line at the bottom of the interface. The system may be late, but it will never be absent. Zhang Xiaojian. Buzzed not long after Zhang Xiaojian finished breakfast, his phone rang. It was a message sent by Qin Fun. You haven't woken up yet. This is your first day at school after waking up. Dad is not at ease. Let's go with you, Dad. Zhang Xiaojian rolled his eyes wildly and said, Your grandfather and I got up long ago. Qin Fun said, Wait for me downstairs, I'll be there soon. Wearing the long-lost school uniform, carrying a small backpack, Zhang Xiaojian walked downstairs. Seeing that Qin Fun had not arrived yet, Zhang Xiaojian studied the system again and found that there was still nothing. He took out his phone and wanted to browse his social media. I haven't been up all night, and many people have already sent messages, most of which are congratulatory messages from classmates. Zhang Yang, the cousin of Zhang Xiaojian, also sent a congratulatory message. Cousin, congratulations on awakening. Although it's just a C-level spirit beast skin shrimp, weaker than my B-level iron arm spear shrimp, I still need to work hard. If you have anything you don't understand, feel free to ask me. Cousin, I definitely know everything without hesitation. By the way, I am also from Awakening Class 3. Zhang Xiaojian shrugged and sent a smile to Zhang Yang before closing the chat window. Uncle Zhang Xiaojian's family is engaged in seafood and seafood business, with abundant profits, which cannot be compared to his small fish stall. Naturally, this cousin is also a bit arrogant towards his family, and this seems to have remained unchanged in both his previous and current life. Zhang Xiaojian opened his social circle again and saw his personal signature at first glance. My inferior swordsmanship is about to be perfected. Zhang Xiaojian shook his head with a bitter smile and curiously opened his post. The latest one was posted last week at the start of school. If one day there is a superhero in this world wearing underwear, then that person must be me. Zhang Xiaojian. Zhang Xiaojian scratched his head and then turned to the nearest second one to talk about. The release time is 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, accompanied by selfies of Zhang Xiaojian holding his phone high and tilting it 45 degrees downwards, with a paragraph attached below. Excuse me, am I handsome and messy? Zhang Xiaojian's corner of the eye twitched. Was this really written by his 18-year-old self? Can't it be possessed by someone? Zhang Xiaojian looked at the third item again, another, handsome, selfie, this time with a long sentence attached. I hate this world that looks at my face. I hate my handsomeness overshadowing my talent. Men should take advantage of their youth to go out and take a walk more, let nature feel the scent of my hormones. At the age of 18, I finally understood a truth. Being handsome is really useless. It will still rain, but I am still single, wow, pop. Zhang Xiaojian couldn't help it anymore and threw his phone on the ground, frantically stomping on it several times. Nima, is this really me at 18 years old? Shameful. Shame on you. After a moment, Qin Fen looked at Zhang Xiaojian squatting on the ground, scratching his head and cheeks. He was surprised and said, "What's wrong?" "No, I just feel that the ants on the ground are very interesting. Let's study them." Qin Fen. Zhang Xiaojian quietly put away his phone, and he had set his social circle to only be visible to himself. Before deleting all the words inside, Zhang Xiaojian swore not to let it see the light of day again. On the way, Qin Fen asked Xiaojian, do you know the difference between the first, second, and third editions of Yuhai Normal University? Zhang Xiaojian thought for a moment and replied, it seems like there are many benefits and subsidies for first and second tier universities, while there are almost no benefits for third tier universities. Qin Fen looked serious and said, not a lot, it's very, very many, almost vastly different. In Qin Fen's explanation, Zhang Xiaojian finally understood the gap between the first, second, and third universities. One Imperial Sea University offers free tuition and miscellaneous fees, and monthly subsidies for a large amount of cultivation resources for students to cultivate. The second year of Yuhai Normal University offers a 50% exemption on tuition and miscellaneous fees, and a monthly subsidy for a portion of cultivation resources. Sanben Yuhai Shi University does not provide any subsidies. Zhang Xiaojian was shocked. No wonder he just woke up yesterday, and Qin Fen couldn't wait to come over and give him extra classes. It's because the gap between universities is so big. Zhang Xiaojian quickly thought of a crucial question. Brother Fen, what are the spiritual power values of the second tier and first tier lines? Last year, the spiritual power score line for the second book was 40 points, while the first book was 60 points. Qin Fen clearly understood this score line. The college entrance examination at Yuhai Normal University is divided into 3 main sections. Cultural courses, spiritual power values, and spiritual skills. The requirements for cultural courses are not high, reaching the passing line is sufficient. There will be a semester of review, and Zhang Xiaojian is confident that he can do it, so the remaining challenges are spiritual power and spiritual skills. At this moment, upon hearing the spiritual power score line, Zhang Xiaojian thought of last night's cultivation and frowned tightly, saying, 40 points, is it so high? Yes, Qin Fan's face was also slightly solemn, and he shook his head slightly. It's not that the score line is high, but that you awakened too slowly. You wait until the second semester of your third year of high school to awaken, when others have already practiced for a semester or even a year in advance. Zhang Xiaojian is really awakening too slowly and falling behind too much. Zhang Xiaojian's face also turned ugly. He practiced all night last night and only increased his spiritual power by 0.1 points in 5 hours. At this speed, the college entrance examination in 4 months will only increase his spiritual power by 12 points. If you work hard every day, spend 10 hours meditating, and increase your spiritual power by 0.2 points a day, then it's an increase of 24 points. Plus the current 5 points, it's only 29 points of spiritual power, and there's still a long way to go from 2 to 40 points of the main line. Zhang Xiaojian was shocked and said, is he going to take 3 books? 3 universities have not provided any subsidies, and Zhang Xiaojian is unwilling to reach out to his family for money. Zhang Xiaojian's heart suddenly became a bit cold, and his ambitious ambition, which he had only set last night, became half cold like this. Is there any way to increase the speed of spiritual absorption? Zhang Xiaojian frowned tightly and said. What's the solution? Qin Fan didn't say anything at this moment, paused for a moment, and looked at Xiaojian with a smile in his eyes. Please, I'll tell you. Xiaojian is speechless. Qin Fan, you have been mischievous. He immediately looked at Qin Fan with a smile on his face and said vaguely, please, it's impossible, but kneel and lick, I'm good at it. Brother Fan, hurry up and lie down. I promise to give you a lick without leaving a drop. Qin Fan felt a chill all over his body, covered in goosebumps. Get out of here, disgusting guy, I'm not doing anything. Qin Fan hugged his chest with both hands and looked at Zhang Xiaojian with a wary expression. He trembled and said, there are 3 main methods to improve the speed of spiritual absorption. Firstly, switch to a more advanced meditation technique, but the technique is already very rare and expensive. The gathering spirit technique was also researched and published by the National Education Bureau, which is why we can practice it for free. Zhang Xiaojian and Qin Fan are both ordinary families, and it is impossible to obtain advanced martial arts. Even if they buy them, they cannot afford it. This method is not feasible. Secondly, use natural materials and treasures to assist in cultivation, such as sea spirit beasts and monster beast pills, but these are not cheap. Thirdly, practicing in places with abundant spiritual power can also improve the absorption speed of spiritual power. And then, Zhang Xiaojian said in confusion as Qin Fan finished speaking. Qin Fan said, you have just been promoted to the awakening class, so you don't know. In order to improve the cultivation speed of our awakening class and prepare for the college entrance examination, the school organizes us to go to the sea for cultivation every other month. The sea is your last chance. The sea. Zhang Xiaojian was slightly stunned, but soon understood again. If you ask where is the place with the most abundant spiritual power in the world, that is undoubtedly the boundless and turbulent sea. The source of spiritual revival is deep in the sea. Practicing in the sea undoubtedly absorbs more spiritual power. What puzzled Zhang Xiaojian was that the sea is the world of monsters, and a group of unarmed students went there to practice. Isn't it like meat buns beating dogs, with no return? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. If it were tentacle shrimp that awakened, that would be great. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. If it were tentacle shrimp that awakened, that would be great. Zhang Xiaojian expressed his doubts to Qin Fan. Qin Fan explained, it's just practicing in the shallow sea area. The government has planted an underwater forest there, which can not only counteract the invasion of waves, but also provide us with the opportunity to practice. It's a win-win situation. Underwater forest. Zhang Xiaojian was taken aback. Yes, I have gone to practice a few times and there is no problem, Qin Fan said. The government has set up a defense island chain in the deeper sea, with troops stationed there. They occasionally release some low-level monsters for us to fight and practice. Don't forget, there are also spiritual skills projects in the college entrance examination, and spiritual skills are actually practical assessments. Fighting with monsters. Zhang Xiaojian suddenly looked forward to it. When can he also fight with monsters? Xiaojian asked with concern, how long does it take to go each time, and how much spiritual power can one go there improve? We go in the middle of every month for a week each time, and you're lucky. There are still 3 days left until mid-February, and you happen to catch up. In the materials I sent you yesterday, there was an article titled Turtle Breathing Skill, that you held your breath in seawater. Please go back and practice it well. The specific amount of spiritual power that can be improved depends on your persistence. The longer you practice in the sea, the more spiritual power you will gain, and the concentration of spiritual power there is about 3 times higher than in Hongcheng. So practicing there is equivalent to reaching the top of 3 days in a day. Zhang Xiaojian's pupils contracted, and then his heart quickly began to calculate. 1 day is equal to 3 days, 7 days is an extra 14 days, and there are still 4 months left before the college entrance examination, which is 4 times. In this way, there are 56 extra days out of thin air. Practicing for 10 hours a day for 56 days can increase his spiritual power by 11.2. 29 plus 11.2 is equal to 40.2. Hush. Xiaojian's breathing became heavy in one go, just enough to reach the second level. Qin Fan smiled and said, there is also the blood food and demon pill of demon beasts, which can quickly increase spiritual power. If I can kill 1 or 2 demon beasts then, you will have good luck and spiritual power will increase even faster. Xiaojian is overjoyed. If these things really help, his spiritual power value will be even safer if it exceeds 2. On the other hand, seeing Zhang Xiaojian so excited, Qin Fan's face darkened and he sighed, Xiaojian. Today is February 12th, less than 4 months away from June 6th of the college entrance examination. Improving your spiritual power by 35 points in such a short period of time is a very difficult task, and most importantly, even if you really reach the spiritual power level, what about your spiritual skills? Qin Fan shook his head like a tambourine and said, difficult, too difficult. The difficulty of cultivating spiritual skills is usually several times that of spiritual power. And most importantly, your skin shrimp is actually a B.level spirit beast, just because spiritual power and skills are too difficult to cultivate, so it has become a C.level spirit beast. B.level spirit beast. Xiaojian was momentarily stunned, but quickly realized. The rating of a spirit beast is comprehensively evaluated based on its bloodline, ability, spiritual skills, and cultivation difficulty. The strength of Pipi Shrimp is actually not bad, but the cultivation difficulty is too difficult, so it lowered its rating and became a B.level. So the practical assessment of spiritual skills is really not easy. I sincerely suggest that you retake it for another year. Qin Fan's voice was filled with regret, as Zhang Xiaojian's awakening was still too late. There are only a few months left until the college entrance examination, but in response to this situation, the country has also made adjustments, allowing students like Zhang Xiaojian to awaken in the second semester, and those who awaken late to repeat for a year before taking the college entrance examination. Qin Fan also thinks that this is the best plan now. No matter how hard Zhang Xiaojian tries this year, he probably just managed to get by with 2 books. But if we wait until next year, there may be a possibility of getting into a new book. 1 book and 2 books are completely different. There are significant differences in benefits, benefits, mentors, and cultivation techniques. Qin Fen's words were like a bowl of cold water, instantly calming Xiaojian down. I'll work hard first before we talk. Zhang Xiaojian let out a breath and said slowly. After Zhang Xiaojian finished speaking, he couldn't help but look at the small queue system in front of him. It was now 8 a.m. on February 12th, and after 3 days and 18 hours, it was 24 p.m. on February 15th. It happened to be around 12 p.m. on the night he went to the underwater forest that he finished upgrading. Zhang Xiaojian felt a bit uneasy in his heart. Now, all his hopes are pinned on this system, hoping that it can be more reliable. Little Q, what kind of a Q spirit will be activated then? That little sword can go and crash into the wall. Then the two of them were chatting and quickly arrived at school. There are a total of 3 teaching buildings in Hongqing No. 1 Middle School, and Zhang Xiaojian, Qin Fen, and more than 100 awakened students alone occupy one, located on the far left side of the school. It is slightly far from the other 2 teaching buildings, separated by a green belt in the middle, making a clear distinction. People were coming and going at the school gate, and as Zhang Xiaojian and Qin Fen walked straight towards the left teaching building, the other students couldn't help but show envy and longing. Awakening Class 3 in Senior High School, in class. A tall man stood on the podium, wearing loose exercise pants underneath and a short-sleeved T-shirt above. The thick upper limbs were exposed, and the tangled muscles made Zhang Xiaojian and others feel a sense of strength rushing towards them. Their eyes remained calm and confident. This is Zhang Xiaojian's homeroom teacher, Gao Sheng. In the next semester, Zhang Xiaojian will study under his guidance. Today we will learn about the knowledge points of the red skeleton and sharp-toothed fish monster. Everyone, turn to page 57 of the textbook and listen carefully. These are all exams to be taken. You must remember that from today on, you will be a member of the Imperial Navy. It is very necessary to engrave the knowledge points of various demon tribes into your mind, because it is highly likely that they will be the enemies you will face in the next moment. Zhang Xiaojian listened while flipping through the contents of the book, which could be considered as broadening his horizons. The sea of this world is even more terrifying than Zhang Xiaojian had imagined, not only possessing various aquatic creatures on the blue star, but also some unknown, mysterious, sinister and mysterious. For example, the red skeleton-toothed fish mentioned by Gao Sheng at this time is a species that blue star has never appeared before. Even some ancient legendary marine beasts have appeared one after another, such as the giant-toothed shark, the sea king dragon, the sea dragon, and so on. People who have watched movies such as Jurassic Park and Giant-Toothed Shark know how fragile humans are in the face of such ocean giants. And the mission of the Imperial Sea Master is to defeat them, which is really unimaginable for Zhang Xiaojian, especially when these ocean lords have intelligence and can cultivate. The cultural course ends in the morning, and in the afternoon, there is a practical exercise of the Yuhai division. Zhang Xiaojian had just awakened and couldn't even summon spirit beasts, so he could only obediently stand by and watch others practice and fight. On the huge playground, the students of Awakening Class 3 stood apart, and one spiritual object after another appeared from them. The raging spiritual power filled the entire playground, looking colorful and extraordinary. Zhang Xiaojian glanced over and saw that these people had a variety of spiritual creatures, some of which were spiritual beasts such as pig-toothed fish, water arrow turtles, tentacle shrimp, spear shrimp, etc. Some are spiritual tools, such as harps and wind snails. Some are spiritual plants. Thorns and vines, giant iron algae, water lilies, etc. Zhang Xiaojian's eyes lit up, and the spiritual items of the Imperial Sea Master were truly diverse, including countless. After engaging in practical combat with several boys, Qin Fen caught a glimpse and suddenly noticed Zhang Xiaojian with bright eyes, staring intently at a boy in the field. Qin Fen walked over curiously and said, "What's wrong?" Zhang Xiaojian still looked at the boy with a radiant expression and said in an envious tone, "If only the spiritual beast I awakened was the tentacle shrimp. Why? Qin Fen looked strange. Although the tentacled shrimp spirit beast has flexible attack methods, its weaknesses are also very obvious. Its agility and defense are average, so it is just a C-level spirit beast. Zhang Xiaojian exclaimed in admiration, Qin Fen, you don't understand. For us mediocre and self-aware sea masters, it's really difficult to charge into battle and kill monsters. What should we do if we accidentally hiccup? I haven't touched a woman's little hand yet. I have to stay in the rear honestly, marry a big villain. Marry a virtuous wife and mother, a gentle and kind wife, raise children, and live a comfortable life. And if we have the skill of tentacle shrimp, we will be very happy. Qin Fen stared at Zhang Xiaojian with a black line on his face. Bang! Just then, a loud noise suddenly came from the center of the playground. Seeking collection, seeking recommended tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. System upgrade completed, underwater forest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 System upgrade completed, underwater forest, boom. A sharp and extreme explosion sound, as well as the piercing creaking sound of metal being violently torn apart, came from the center of the playground. Upon hearing the sound, Zhang Xiaojian and Qin Fen looked over and saw a young man standing proudly in the center of the playground. He was wearing a light blue sportswear, standing 1.8 meters tall. His strong and muscular muscles were printed out through his clothes, and his sunny and handsome face attracted the attention of many girls. On the wall of the playground opposite the boy, there were also moving targets shooting out from the side. Upon closer inspection, these targets were all made of metal. The loud explosion just now was made by the boy hitting a metal target. Successfully hit a target, but the boy in blue was not satisfied. He took the initiative to retreat a few meters and then raised his right hand to aim. As he raised his right hand, a huge blue shrimp shadow quickly appeared behind him. The appearance of the blue giant shrimp is completely different from that of ordinary shrimp, with a body length of 2 meters, but the shrimp clamp on the right hand is a full 1 meter, huge and unparalleled, with a very special proportion of body shape. And when the shrimp pliers on its right hand opened, the center of the pliers turned out to be a dark muzzle. That's right, this blue giant shrimp is a B-level spirit beast, iron-armed spear shrimp. And this handsome young man, shining in the sunlight, is naturally Zhang Yang, the cousin of Zhang Xiaojian. When the giant pliers of the iron-armed spear shrimp and Zhang Yang's right hand converged, a blue spear light immediately shot out of his palm at lightning speed, sounding like a gunshot. Spiritual skill, extremely fast water gun. Boom. The sharp sound rang out again, and the blue water gun shot like a bullet, instantly hitting a moving metal target. The metal target instantly shattered into countless pieces, being roughly torn apart. After firing one shot, Zhang Yang didn't stop and leisurely retreated a few meters, then looked up and fired another shot. The continuous gunshots rang out, and Zhang Yang's actions caught everyone's attention, even the people from the awakened class next door looked over. The girls couldn't help but scream and shout Zhang Yang's name in unison. After the last target was shattered, Zhang Yang had somehow retreated to Zhang Xiaojian. At this point, his distance from the playground wall has exceeded 50 meters. Zhang Xiaojian's face was solemn as he picked up a fragment of a target on the ground. He saw that the thickness of the target was about half a centimeter. Zhang Xiaojian took a deep breath and realized that the 54 pistol from Yan Gua can only penetrate a 3 mm steel plate within 25 meters. In comparison, the power of the iron-armed spear shrimp is a complete victory. After hitting the target, Zhang Yangshi turned around, his neck slightly raised, and he stared at Zhang Xiaojian with pride. He casually stroked his bangs and smiled. "Cousin, can you tell me, these few times just now, did I look so handsome?" Zhang Xiaojian. Qin Fen. The two of them, who were originally shocked by the power of the iron-armed spear shrimp, suddenly fell into an awkward silence. Qin Fan couldn't help but say to Zhang Xiaojian, "I thought your face was already thick, but I didn't expect your cousin to be even thicker. I am truly a family, the upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked." Zhang Xiaojian was speechless. 3 days hurriedly passed, and this day was the day when Zhang Xiaojian and others set off for the underwater forest. At this point, the value on Zhang Xiaojian's silver watch is 6, yes, because we don't know the specific function of the system. Zhang Xiaojian's cultivation over the past 3 days can only be described as hard work. Apart from eating, drinking, defecating, and learning, the remaining minutes and seconds are used to cultivate spiritual power. In 3 days, Zhang Xiaojian has increased his spiritual power by a total of 0.8 points, averaging 0.26 points per day. That is to say, Zhang Xiaojian has spent nearly 12 hours of meditation and cultivation every day in the past 3 days, which can be said to be very hardworking. At 7 o'clock in the morning, Zhang Xiaojian woke up as usual, but stayed for a while. Surprisingly, his mother Luohan was at home today and did not go to the market. "Mom!" Zhang Xiaojian exclaimed in surprise. Luohan was busy in the kitchen when she turned around and smiled. "Oh, Xiaojian, are you up? Come and have breakfast." "Oh," Zhang Xiaojian sat on the table doubtfully. Luohan took out a pot of century egg lean meat congee from the kitchen, and then went back to the room to take out a small wooden box. Luohan handed the wooden box to Zhang Xiaojian and smiled, "Son, open it and take a look." Zhang Xiaojian's hand holding the bowl froze for a moment, then took the wooden box and opened it. In an instant, a bright and soft light shot out from inside the box. Inside the wooden box, there is a pearl the size of a finger quietly stored. The bead appears light blue, but upon closer inspection, the center of the bead seems to contain a starry sky. The sparkling stars flow slowly like liquid, looking very beautiful. Is this the sea spirit pearl? Zhang Xiaojian was stunned. Zhang Xiaojian is very familiar with things like sea spirit beads because they are one of the most important cultivation resources for the Imperial Sea Master. The sea spirit pearl was born in the sea spirit clam, and its birth principle is similar to pearls, but this unique sea spirit clam can gather spiritual power. The pearls inside the clam gradually undergo changes under the nourishment of a large amount of spiritual power, becoming sea spirit pearls that contain a lot of spiritual power. The spiritual power contained in the sea spirit pearl is very gentle, suitable for the sea master to absorb, and its absorption efficiency is far greater than that of meditation cultivation because of the powerful effect of the sea spirit pearl on the sea master. This kind of thing is very expensive. Although the one in Zhang Xiaojian's hand is only the size of a finger, if you buy it, it will cost at least 10,000 yuan. Zhang Xiaojian was stunned, his heart beating rapidly. How much fish do his parents need to kill to earn back this 10,000 yuan? The college entrance examination is coming soon, let's take it and practice well. Luohan affectionately touched the back of Zhang Xiaojian's head and said. Zhang Xiaojian's eyes suddenly turned red in frustration and he said, "Mom, this is too expensive." "It's okay, you take it," Luohan said arrogantly. "This is too luxurious. Mom made the decision to buy it for you, but your dad dare not have any objections." "Mom." Seeing her son still being motherly, Luohan became annoyed and immediately slapped her, shouting, "What's wrong with you? Girls don't even chatter like you do." "Thank you, Mom. I will definitely be confident." "Well, that's right," Luohan nodded in satisfaction. "The older my son grows, the more disobedient he becomes. He needs to be pruned." At 8 o'clock in the morning, on a school bus. There are still 16 hours left until the small queue system is turned on. The school bus was noisy, but Xiaojian hid in a corner of the bus, meditating and practicing, seizing every opportunity to cultivate. Qin Fan next to him glanced at the numbers on Xiaojian's watch and nodded in satisfaction, "Not bad. Xiaojian, this kid can do it." After awakening, he feels like a different person. Following this process, the spiritual power value can definitely exceed the score line of 2 books. The school bus slowly drove eastward, and the wind blowing in the air became increasingly salty. Zhang Xiaojian, who was practicing, felt waves of joy in his heart. He clearly felt that as the school bus advanced, the concentration of spiritual power in the air was also gradually increasing. An hour later, the school bus arrived at the dock, and they boarded the ship and sailed towards the depths of the sea. As soon as he boarded the ship, Zhang Xiaojian's face became even more excited. Because the concentration of spiritual power at sea is twice as high as on land. This means that practicing here, the cultivation effect will also be twice as high. It's like this on the sea, what if it's in the sea? Zhang Xiaojian is increasingly looking forward to further education in this underwater forest. After the ship had advanced for half an hour, a large shadow slowly appeared on the originally blue sea surface. The shadows are pitch black like ink, like overturned ink. Xiaojian scanned from side to side, but the shadows were continuous, almost occupying his entire eye socket. He curiously walked up to the deck and looked at the black water surface, only to see that it was not a shadow, but one towering tree after another, which was very spectacular. Welcome to Hongqing Underwater Forest. Qin Fen smiled. The ship stopped in front of the underwater forest, and Zhang Xiaojian and others all changed into diving suits and lined up on the deck to gather. This is a rescue necklace, one for each person. If you feel unwell or encounter unexpected situations while in the water, immediately press and hold the button in the center of the pendant. The school teacher will come to rescue you as soon as possible, understand? Understood. After saying a few more precautions, Gao Sheng walked up to Zhang Xiaojian and said, Zhang Xiaojian, this is your first time practicing underwater. Remember not to dive too deep, and also not to go deep into the underwater forest. Stay outside. If you can't persist in the process of cultivation, immediately return to the water surface, you know. Got it, thank you, Teacher Gao. Well, Gao Sheng nodded and glanced at Zhang Xiaojian's spiritual power watch, showing a rare smile. Keep going, maybe you can increase your spiritual power by 1 point in the next day. Zhang Xiaojian was noticeably stunned for a moment, not expecting the unsmiling homeroom teacher to make such a joke as well. His words are also encouragement, not really saying that Zhang Xiaojian can increase his spiritual power by 1 point in a day. After all, Zhang Xiaojian only spent 5 hours cultivating 0.1 points of spiritual power. Even if the concentration of sea water spiritual power is 3 times that of land, he cannot increase it by 1 point in a day. Thank you, Teacher Gao. I will do my best, Zhang Xiaojian replied. NN. Gao Sheng turned his head and said to Qin Fen, please help keep an eye on Zhang Xiaojian and pay attention to safety. Yes, Teacher Gao. Okay, everyone has it, go underwater. Yes. Pushy pushy. With a series of splashes, Zhang Xiaojian also held his breath for the first time and operated turtle breath skill. Xiaojian, we're going into the water. Okay. Wow. At the first moment of entering the water, Zhang Xiaojian immediately felt a comfortable sensation all over his body, mixed with the cool seawater surrounding him. That whole body comfort is spiritual power, what a rich spiritual power. And as his body fell deeper into the depths of the sea, the concentration of this spiritual power was slowly increasing. At this moment, Qin Fen suddenly grabbed Zhang Xiaojian's clothes and pointed to the underwater forest in front of him, gesturing for him to swim with him. Zhang Xiaojian nodded and followed. After practicing turtle breath skill, Zhang Xiaojian was able to hold his breath in the sea for half an hour at a time, which was very long-lasting. And the reason they don't use oxygen tanks is because they are here to practice, not to dive. The two of them swam for a while and quickly reached the edge of the forest. The forest was full of tall and giant trees. The two of them crawled under the arches formed by these trees, and the first thing that caught their eyes was the strange arrangement of leaves. Zhang Xiaojian widened his eyes as he had never seen such a arrangement before. I can only see the grassland in the forest, not a single inch of grass. The dense branches of shrubs neither extend nor bend down. The leaves do not extend horizontally, but rather upwards, 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 desperately reaching towards the water surface. All the branches, all the slender stems, all the ribbon-shaped leaves, no matter how thin or thin, they are all straight upwards like wire. Even some seaweed and some vine plants grow straight and upright upwards. They remained motionless in the water, and when Zhang Xiaojian lifted them away with his hand, they immediately returned to their original state. This is actually a kingdom of vertical lines. Qin Fan smiled and looked at Zhang Xiaojian's stunned expression, without disturbing him. He let him watch quietly. Because when he first arrived at the underwater forest, he also had such an awkward appearance. After coming for a long time, Zhang Xiaojian finally realized. Qin Fan pulled him to swim to the surface of the water to breathe. The two of them are still just early-stage sea masters and have not yet opened their mouths, so they cannot speak in the water for the time being. Is it beautiful here? Qin Fan smiled as he looked at Zhang Xiaojian on the sea. Beauty. Zhang Xiaojian nodded. This scene was something he had never seen before, as if he had come to a foreign planet, which could be said to be a great eye-opening experience. This can also be considered as a benefit for our sea master's cultivation. With so many views on land, you can experience the unique ocean scenery. Alright, let's start practicing. Let's go a little deeper. Qin Fan skillfully navigated through the underwater forest with a small sword, and as the density of surrounding trees increased, the spiritual power here also became a bit stronger. Xiao Jian quickly understood that the trees here have the effect of gathering spiritual power. Let's practice on this big tree. You dive to 30 meters, and I'll go a little deeper by 50 meters. Okay. Zhang Xiaojian nodded and immediately the two of them went diving along the big tree. Zhang Xiaojian stopped diving about 30 meters, while Qin Fan continued diving until only a blurry black shadow remained in Zhang Xiaojian's eyes. In the ocean, sunlight can reach a depth of about 200 meters, but due to the lush vegetation in the undersea forest, visibility is greatly reduced, and it becomes dark at around 50 meters. Seeing that Qin Fan was fine, Zhang Xiaojian stopped delaying and sat cross-legged on a branch of a tree, focusing on his cultivation. Although the deeper the seawater, the stronger the spiritual power, Zhang Xiaojian couldn't dive there. Even if he did, his body couldn't support him. Ordinary people are usually required to dive within 20 meters, while professional divers can only dive up to 40 meters. At this time, the water pressure is nearly 4 atmospheres, which is equivalent to more than 400 adults pressing on you. If Zhang Xiaojian hadn't awakened and become the Imperial Sea Master, possessing spiritual power, he wouldn't have been able to stay for even 30 meters. As soon as Zhang Xiaojian closed his eyes and meditated, he immediately felt an extremely strong spiritual power gathering from all directions, rushing into his pores. Zhang Xiaojian was ecstatic, his spiritual power concentration was 3 times that of land. This underwater forest is truly a treasure trove for cultivation. Zhang Xiaojian no longer hesitates, crazily absorbs. 5 hours later, Zhang Xiaojian swam out of the water, his face turning pale and panting heavily. At this moment, his eyes were full of surprises, because his spiritual watch showed that his spiritual power value was 6.3. Added a total of 0.3 spiritual power points in 5 hours. Sure enough, practicing in the underwater forest is 3 times more efficient than on land. Zhang Xiaojian took a short rest, took a breath, and then continued to dive into the sea for cultivation, unwilling to waste a second of his time. Quickly, the sky darkened unconsciously. And the small queue system will be upgraded soon. Seeking collection, seeking recommended tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The role of the small queue system. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 The Role of the Small Q System. Darkness falls. The blue starry sky is reflected on the sea surface, blending with the sea to create a blue dream. At midnight, Zhang Xiaojian lightly stepped on his legs, like a swimming fish slowly emerging from the water. He wiped his face with both hands and took a deep breath of the atmosphere. Although exhausted and mentally lethargic, Xiaojian still looked at his spiritual wrist for the first time, only to see that the number on it was 6.9. Zhang Xiaojian's face showed a happy and satisfied smile. It's not easy. From the morning to the underwater forest, he practiced for 15 hours and ran the gathering spirit technique 30 times before finally obtaining the 0.9 points of spiritual power. He took 2 breaks during this time. He can only practice the spirit gathering technique for a maximum of 5 hours at a time, and then he needs to rest for 1 hour. From 9.00 to 14.00 in the morning, from 15.00 to 18.00, and from 19.00 to midnight, Xiaojian did not slack off at all. As soon as his body recovered, he immediately went into the water. Hard work pays off for those who have a heart. Today, he almost increased his spiritual power by 1 more point. Compared to Peace Day, the growth rate of his spiritual power is truly inspiring. On the blue sea, a brightly lit ship was quietly docked, which was the school ship. There are several school teachers patrolling on the ship, and there is still a team of soldiers standing around the side of the ship. Hongcheng still values these students very much. The system upgrade should be completed, right? Zhang Xiaojian shook his head and swam towards the ship. According to time estimates, the system should have been upgraded an hour ago, but Xiaojian was meditating and practicing at the time, so he temporarily ignored it. I quickly swam to the ship and boarded the escalator. Zhang Xiaojian glanced at the system and it was indeed upgraded. Zhang Xiaojian instinctively glanced around and then went straight into his resting cabin, turning around to lock the door. Zhang Xiaojian lay on the bed and opened the small Q system interface again. On the light blue system interface, it is neatly divided into 2 parts. Left and right. On the left are several columns of data. Q coin. 0 spiritual power. 6.9 spirit skill. 1, Eye of Heaven, not upgraded, 2. Cannon Fist, not upgraded, 3. Colorful Armor, not upgraded. The right side is very simple, with a large black border and a black eerie light flashing in the middle, with 5 words written. Recharge Entrance. After reading the system, Zhang Xiaojian was completely bewildered, lying stiff on the bed with his mouth wide open. Originally, the little Q system refers to the Q coin recharge system. This Nima Zhang Xiaojian suddenly remembered that before crossing the river, he seemed to be preparing to charge some Q coins and then read a peerless book called Deep Sea Fist King. Unexpectedly, now that he has traveled, the recharge system has also followed suit. Zhang Xiaojian's head was covered in black lines. He instinctively looked towards the bottom of the interface, where a small line of text had turned into several lines. Note 1. In a turbulent year, how can you become stronger without recharging? Note 2. Recharge ratio. 1 Q coins are equal to 1,000 yuan, and equivalent items can also be used for recharging, all of which can be placed at the recharge entrance. Note 3. Q coins can be used to purchase all services of the little Q system. Note 4. Once Q coins are recharged, they cannot be exchanged for cash, transferred for transactions, or exchanged for products and services outside the small Q system. Zhang Xiaojian hides his face and is speechless. The familiar words, the familiar taste well, let's recharge and try it out. Zhang Xiaojian got out of bed, opened the storage cabinet in the lounge, flipped through his wallet, and took out a red carp. When Xiaojian placed the 100 yuan at the recharge entrance on the right side of the interface, a prompt sounded. The recharge amount is too low, please recharge again. Zhang Xiaojian's head is covered in black lines, this system despises poor comparison. He tried again and it turned out to be 200 yuan, unable to recharge. 500 yuan, cannot be recharged. Zhang Xiaojian gritted his teeth, took out the last few red carp left in his wallet, and had the heart to gather up to 1,000. Suddenly, 1,000 yuan was swallowed up, and the Q coin on the system interface jumped and turned into 1 Q coin. Other data also refreshed. Q coin. 1 spiritual power. 6.9 plus spirit skill. 1, Eye of Heaven, upgraded or not, 2. Cannon Fist, upgraded or not, 3. Colorful Armor, upgraded or not. Sure enough, the purpose of Q coins is to enhance spiritual power and upgrade spiritual skills. Now Zhang Xiaojian felt a bit moved in his heart. I wonder how the recharge effect is. You don't need to pay attention to spiritual skills for now. I learned from Qinfen that he can't even summon spirit beast skins and shrimps now, so it's impossible to use spiritual skills. So the most important thing for him now is to increase his spiritual power value. How much spiritual power can this 1 Q coin increase? Zhang Xiaojian thought eagerly. He immediately stopped hesitating and placed the plus sign behind his spiritual power. Suddenly, a warm and powerful force rushed out from the depths of his body, filling his entire body. The body seems to have inflated like a balloon. Zhang Xiaojian was slightly surprised, realizing that this was the result of suddenly gaining a lot of strength. His body was light and floating, unable to adapt for a while. The system interface has also been refreshed again. Q coin. 0 spiritual power. 7.9 spirit skill. 1, Eye of Heaven, not upgraded, 2. Cannon Fist, not upgraded, 3. Colorful Armor, not upgraded. Watching the spiritual power value change from 6.9 to 7.9, Zhang Xiaojian was stunned. Then, I at #UN%. Zhang Xiaojian cursed loudly. This 1 Q coin actually directly increased his spiritual power by 1 point. Zhang Xiaojian's mentality is cracking open. In Hongcheng, he worked hard to cultivate for 3 days and only increased his spiritual power by 0.9 points. In this underwater forest, there is a strong spiritual blessing. He spent 15 hours immersed in the seawater from morning till midnight, enduring heavy pressure and loneliness. Finally, he improved his spiritual power by 0.9 points. As a result, this little Q system increased his spiritual power by 1 point in the blink of an eye. Oh my God! In Zhang Xiaojian's heart, it was simply a mix of shock, joy, and madness, like a roller coaster, wildly stirring. What else will he practice in the future? Dad Ma is indeed right. Without recharging, there's really no way to become stronger. Zhang Xiaojian sat in bed for half an hour, but still couldn't calm down. He sat on the bed, his original fatigue swept away, and his eyes were full of excitement. There's hope. With this small Q system, not to mention 2 books, even 1 book, he has a chance to go. However, Zhang Xiaojian's eyes couldn't help but focus on the withered wallet. After spending 1,000 yuan, there was only over 100 left inside, making it impossible to recharge. Sure enough, recharging was enjoyable for a while, and it has always been enjoyable to recharge. Zhang Xiaojian felt a headache for a moment. He had saved up over 1,000 yuan of pocket money for several years. Now I have suddenly increased my spiritual power by 1 point. It's refreshing, but I don't have any money anymore. Take it with your parents. This is not practical. Not to mention whether his parents agree or not, it would take at least several 100,000 yuan to top up enough money for him to attend a university. Oh, by the way. At this moment, Xiaojian suddenly glanced at the small wooden box in the storage cabinet. Hailing Zhu. He also has a sea spirit pearl. The small Q system accepts recharge of equivalent items. Xiaojian quickly took out the sea spirit pearl and placed it at the recharge entrance. Sure enough, a system prompt sounded. This item can be exchanged for 10 Q coins. Do you want to exchange it? Redeem. Buzz, the sea spirit pearl disappears, and the system interface refreshes again. Q coin. 10 spiritual power. 7.9 plus spirit skill. 1. Eye of Heaven, upgraded or not, 2. Cannon Fist, upgraded or not, 3. Colorful Armor, upgraded or not, requesting recommended tickets and collecting them, end of this chapter. Chapter 7. Level of Spiritual Skills. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 7 Level of Spiritual Skills. Xiaojian is overjoyed. Haha, he suddenly added 10 more Q coins. If converted to spiritual power, it would be 10 points, it's so delicious. However, he just increased his spiritual power by 1 point and his body hasn't adapted yet, so he can't recharge his spiritual power temporarily. Of course, the most important significance in this is that the spiritual power exchanged by the Hai Ling Zhu through the system is 100%. The meaning of this sentence is that, with the cultivation of Xiaojian, although Hai Ling Zhu can also help him increase spiritual power, he cannot directly increase it by 10 points. There is an absorption rate issue in between, and Xiaojian can only increase it by a few points. But if it's a system, there won't be any issue of consumption or loss at all. The amount of spiritual power inside a sea spirit bead, and the amount of spiritual power added to it upon feedback, is a very amazing transformation. Although the system is greedy for money, the services provided are quite generous. Zhang Xiaojian lowered his gaze and looked down at the 3 spiritual skills below. The Eye of the Sky, the Cannon Fist, and the Colorful Armor. The Eye of Heaven is obviously an auxiliary spiritual skill, the Colorful Armor is a defense skill, and the Cannon Fist is an attack skill. Zhang Xiaojian decided to upgrade his attack-type spiritual skills first. After all, he has attack methods and inner confidence, so he is not easy to panic when encountering things. And it is said that in the depths of the underwater forest, there may be some low-level monsters encountered. If they do, Xiaojian may be able to hunt them down. And once hunted, it is a wealth of wealth. The flesh and blood of demon beasts, as well as the value of demon pills, are expensive and should also be able to be exchanged for Q coins. And for Zhang Xiaojian, Q coin is strength. Zhang Xiaojian immediately upgraded a bit behind the Cannon Fist, but unexpectedly appeared. Ding, the host's spiritual power is currently too low to upgrade their spiritual skills. Zhang Xiaojian shook his head, it seemed that what Qin Fen said was true. At this point, he cannot even manifest spiritual beasts and cannot cultivate spiritual skills. During this period, he can only obediently cultivate spiritual power. Zhang Xiaojian rested for a while before suddenly knocking on the door outside the cabin. It was Qin Fen. Xiaojian, open the door. Did you go to bed so early? I don't believe it, you're not doing any invisible personal sports inside, are you? Hurry up and open the door. If you want to do it, let's do it together, brothers. Xiaojian rolled his eyes silently and got out of bed to open the door. The door opened and Qin Fen appeared. At this moment, his hair was wet, but his eyes were bright and frightening. There is still a strong spiritual aura lingering on his body, incredibly strong. Zhang Xiaojian understood that Qin Fen had just finished the effect of his cultivation. Unlike Zhang Xiaojian, Qin Fenxiu has a higher level of cultivation, and can persist for 1 hour at a time with turtle breath technique. The gathering spirit technique can increase the movement by 20 circles again, far exceeding the small sword. In addition, the place where he practiced is 50 meters underwater, and the small sword is only 30 meters away. With so many advantages exhausted, Qin Fen's spiritual power that can be increased in a day is beyond the reach of little sword. How much spiritual power has been added? Zhang Xiaojian curiously said, 2 o'clock. Qin Fen looked happy. Sure enough, Zhang Xiaojian's gaze shifted downwards and he saw that Qin Fen's spiritual power watch had already reached 61.5. This spiritual power value has completely reached the score line of a university. And there are still more than 3 months left until the college entrance examination, when Qin Fan's spiritual power value should exceed 100 points, and his cultivation level should advance to the mid-term of the first-grade Imperial Sea Master. This is a very terrifying achievement. As long as his spiritual skills don't pull his hips, Qin Fan should have no problem taking a key exam. What about you? Qin Fan replied. A little less than you, Xiaojian nodded and honestly replied. Qin Fan rolled his eyes and didn't believe Zhang Xiaojian's nonsense. He, who is 50 meters underwater, has always been paying attention to Zhang Xiaojian's cultivation. He knew that Zhang Xiaojian had practiced for more than 10 hours, and according to his current cultivation speed, the increased spiritual power should be around 0.8 points, or 0.9 points. This is not a little less than his 2 spiritual powers. He looked his head towards Zhang Xiaojian's wrist, only to see that his spiritual watch had already been taken off. Forget it. Qin Fan smiled and didn't expose it. Let's save some face for our brothers. He has been practicing very hard these days, there is no need to hit him again. Zhang Xiaojian invited Qin Fan into the room, but as soon as Qin Fan entered, his nose was sniffing around the room and he was shocked, saying, "Oh, there's no seafood flavor. Why are you locked in the room without the smell of seafood?" Zhang Xiaojian interrupted speechlessly and said, "Do you think everyone is just as dirty as you?" Qin Fan chuckled and said, "I don't need to be naughty. I have a girlfriend. Zhang Xiaojian. The two of them said 2 more words, and Zhang Xiaojian turned the topic to a serious direction. "Brother Fan, when can I summon the spirit beast?" "It's almost there. You can wait until your spiritual power reaches 10 points. Zhang Xiaojian was overjoyed. He now has 7.9 points of spiritual power, and tomorrow's cultivation will increase by 0.9. Recharging will increase by 1 point, which is 9.8 points of spiritual power. Sure, you can summon spirit beasts the day after tomorrow and practice spiritual skills. Xiaojian excitedly asked, "Then can I practice spiritual skills then?" Qin Fan looked at Zhang Xiaojian with a smile on his face and said, "Then you're thinking too simply. Do you know that spiritual skills are also graded?" Xiaojian nodded and said, "I know this. Spiritual skills are divided into 4 levels and 12 levels, namely Heaven, Earth, Xian, and Huang. Each level is further divided into elementary, intermediate, and advanced levels." Qin Fan smiled and asked, "Do you know the specific level of your 3 spiritual skills of Pipi Shrimp?" Xiaojian hesitated for a moment and said, "I really don't know about this. I know, I specifically went to ask Teacher Gao." "Well, what level is it?" Little Sword really didn't expect Qin Fan to do so much kung fu for him behind his back. Qin Fan replied, "The level of all 3 of your spiritual skills is medium yellow." Xiaojian was taken aback for a moment and said in confusion, "Qin Fan, I remember your spiritual skill level seems to be also of medium yellow rank." "That's right. Does this mean that my spiritual skill power is comparable to yours?" "That's right. Isn't that a good thing?" Xiaojian was overjoyed. The higher the level of the spiritual skill, the stronger the power of the spiritual skill. He didn't expect that although his spirit beast skin shrimp was at level C, his spiritual skill power was comparable to that of a B-level lava crab. "You big-headed ghost." Qin Fan was speechless. Indeed, the higher the level of spiritual skills, the better, but this means that the difficulty of cultivating spiritual skills is higher. Do you know that it took me a full month to learn my yellow terrace and other spiritual skills back then? Qin Fan stared at Zhang Xiaojian and said, "My aptitude is better than yours, and I have more spiritual power than you. I spent a month on it all. How long do you think you will spend? This is a double-edged sword. Practicing well indeed increases your strength. But it also requires you to pay a lot of price to cultivate it, to ponder it. That's also why I took the initiative to ask you to repeat for another year. Your time is very tight, but as a result, you have to spend a lot of time practicing spiritual skills. Difficult, it's really too difficult. Place bowls and ask for tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Summoning Spirit Beasts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Summoning Spirit Beasts. Xiaojian didn't expect Qin Fen to ask him to repeat his studies for a year, and there was such a reason behind it. He clenched his fist, still feeling a bit unwilling. Is it really so difficult to cultivate the spiritual skills of Huangjie? Mastering spiritual skills represents the beginning of gaining combat power. With combat power, he can take the opportunity to hunt down 1 or 2 demon beasts in this underwater forest. This is very important. Having a monster is equivalent to having Q coins, and with Q coins, his strength can grow faster. Relying on him to cultivate on his own is really too slow. I understand your feelings, and I'm also someone who came here. Qin Fen smiled as he looked at Xiaojian. I'll make it clearer and let you give up. Spiritual skills are different from martial arts. Spiritual skills require opening the corresponding body orifices. Zhang Xiaojian was startled and said, "What, even when practicing spiritual skills, one still needs to open the orifices?" That's right, and Huangjie's medium-level spiritual skill requires opening a total of 16 acupoints. Hiss. Zhang Xiaojian took a cold breath. The body's orifices are naturally in a blocked and closed state, and it is very difficult to open them. According to textbook records, it usually takes several days for an acupoint to slowly blend in and open. If a large number of heavenly and earthly treasures are used to smash, it can indeed shorten the opening speed. That is to say, if we follow the normal state, it will take Zhang Xiaojian at least 2 to 3 months to activate a medium-level spiritual skill with a yellow rank. He has 3 intermediate-level spiritual skills in the yellow rank, which is nearly 5 to 6 months. This time is really too long. And do you know that the spiritual skills in the middle stage of the yellow rank require at least 10 points of spiritual power to be used each time? With your current spiritual power value in your body, you don't even have enough spiritual skills. Understood, if you awaken 1 semester in advance, the spiritual skills in the middle of the yellow stage can indeed be helpful, but now that the college entrance examination is approaching, they have instead become a stone blocking you. Qin Fen shook his head and sighed, so let's repeat it for another year. This is the best choice. After repeating for a year, 3 spiritual skills can be easily mastered, and you can also take on 1 or more important books. This is the best choice, just wasting a year, in exchange for your bright future. I know. Xiaojian sighed and nodded. The moment when he woke up was indeed too awkward. Even if you succeed in this year's college entrance examination, you will only get 2 books. If you want a higher goal book, you can only honestly spend 1 year. It's good to understand. Qin Fen nodded contentedly when he saw Zhang Xiaojian really listening to his words. Alright, I'll go take a shower and rest. I still have to practice tomorrow. There are only 7 days left here in Hongqing Underwater Forest, and we cannot waste them casually. Well, then I'll go rest too, said Xiao Jiandao. Go to sleep. Qin Fen yawned. The next morning, when it was just dawn, Qin Fen got up to have breakfast with Xiaojian, but found that his cabin door had already been opened and there was no one inside. Qin Fen searched around the ship, but still couldn't find the figure of Xiaojian. He hastily jumped into the water and swam to the place where he practiced last night. Immediately, at the top of a big tree 30 meters away from the water, I found a small sword sitting with closed eyes and crossed knees, practicing upright. Qin Fen was surprised and speechless, nodding with a smile. This kid is fine. The title of diligence can be given to him in the future. Qin Fen's heart was also relieved. The harder Xiaojian worked, the more he felt that his help was meaningful. On the contrary, if Xiaojian spends 3 days fishing and 2 days drying his net, he will also help him for the sake of brotherhood, but at most he will only pull one or two, and he will not find himself bored later on. Qin Fen looked for a while longer, then swam to a 50-meter deep place under the big tree, and also focused on practicing. Today, he also wants to increase his spiritual power by 2 points, come on, come on. A day hurriedly passed by. The sky quickly darkened again, with the moon above and the sky above. At 1 o'clock in the middle of the night, Qin Fen finished his day of cultivation and slowly rose from the pitch-black and lifeless seabed. Practicing in the sea at night is a very courageous thing. Especially Qin Fen is located in an underwater forest 50 meters deep, with the moonlight covered by dense tree crowns and the surroundings pitch-black like ink, and his fingers are nowhere to be seen when reaching out. That feeling was like staying in endless darkness, without any light or sound, and the whole world seemed to be left with him alone. This feeling can completely drive any normal person crazy. For those who suffer from deep-sea phobia and fear of darkness, it is an endless torture. It was as if there were a pair of cold eyes staring at him behind him, and in the darkness in front of him, a bloody mouth slowly opened, which really made one's scalp tingle. However, Qin Fen persisted in all of this. The rough and hard texture of the trees beneath and behind him was an important support for him to persist in his cultivation. And it has to be said that this kind of thing is born and matured twice. When Qin Fen first practiced here, he was also afraid to wet his pants directly. But after a few rounds, he gradually adapted. Just as Qin Fen slowly floated up and subconsciously practiced with a small sword, he was stunned. I saw a dark figure sitting cross-legged there. Qin Fen opened his mouth in surprise, somewhat incredulous. As he approached, with the faint light of his spiritual watch, he realized that it was indeed Zhang Xiaojian. Qin Fen was shocked. Did Xiaojian take medicine today? I came earlier than him in the morning, but now I am still practicing later than him. It's really unbelievable. Qin Fen looked at the darkness around him, but was not in a hurry to go back. He went back to take a breath and swam down again, sitting on the treetop next to the small sword and waiting. Half an hour later, Zhang Xiaojian opened his eyes and swam to the sea. Just as Qin Fen was about to swim up, he found that Zhang Xiaojian suddenly swam down again and then sat back in place to practice. Qin Fen was completely shocked. Does Xiaojian still need to continue practicing? Sure enough, at 2 o'clock in the middle of the night, Zhang Xiaojian was still continuing his cultivation. At 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, Zhang Xiaojian finally finished his cultivation and stopped diving into the sea. Qin Fen breathed a sigh of relief. He thought Zhang Xiaojian was going to stay up all night tonight. Hey, brother Fen, haven't you gone to rest on the boat yet? Xiaojian exclaimed in surprise when another head suddenly appeared on the sea. Qin Fen rolled his eyes and said, at 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, you are still practicing here. Can I feel at ease? I'm so touched, I got wet again. Get lost, you're already wet, and I didn't do it yet. Zhang Xiaojian's face was speechless, truly deserving of being the man who had taken the first drop of blood. I said you, this guy, need to be relaxed and moderate when practicing this kind of thing. Qin Fen couldn't help but curse as he looked at Zhang Xiaojian. You got up at 6 o'clock in the morning and have been practicing until 3 o'clock in the middle of the night. Is this called cultivation? No, you're calling it risking your life. Cultivation is not something that happens overnight, it's not about a sudden burst of energy, but about endurance and endurance. Just like men, the longer they last, the stronger they become. Zhang Xiaojian saw Qin Fen Lua chattering endlessly, so he reached out and decided to take out something to make him shut up. Buzz, sure enough, when that massive and unparalleled thing appeared, Qin Fen immediately shut up. He stared wide-eyed, dumbfounded, petrified on the spot. For a long time, a scream sounded on the sea surface. You have summoned a spirit beast. Oh my goodness. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Sparrow-tailed mantis shrimp. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Sparrow-tailed mantis shrimp. On the originally pitch-black sea surface, a colorful and beautiful spirit beast phantom suddenly appeared. This spirit beast is like shrimp, not shrimp, about 1 meter long, and looks beautiful and special on the outside. Qin Fan stared at the colorful spirit beast and opened his mouth for a long time before closing, saying, "Why can you summon the spirit beast?" Zhang Xiaojian lifted his chin with a proud expression, saying, "It's very simple, because my spiritual power has reached 10 points. System interface. Q coin. 9 spiritual power. 10 plus spirit skill. 1. Eye of Heaven, upgraded or not, 2. Cannon Fist, upgraded or not, 3. Colorful Armor, upgraded or not, yes, that's why Zhang Xiaojian got up so early today and practiced so late. He woke up at 6 in the morning, from 6 to 11 o'clock, from 12 to 17 o'clock, from 18 to 23 o'clock, from 24 o'clock to 3 o'clock the next day, and practiced for a full 18 hours, just to cultivate 1.2 points of spiritual power. Then add 1 point of spiritual power exchanged for 1 Q coin, so his spiritual power value just reaches 10 points, reaching the standard for summoning spiritual beasts. He couldn't wait until tomorrow to summon the spirit beast, so he put in all his strength today. You're 2. Oh, that's not right. Qin Fan widened his eyes and wrinkled them again, saying, "The day before yesterday when we came to Hongqing Underwater Forest, you only had 6 points of spiritual power. Even if you practice hard these past 2 days, you can only increase your spiritual power by a maximum of 2 points, which is only 8 points of spiritual power." Qin Fan knew that the small sword could summon spirit beasts in the next few days, but he didn't expect it to be so fast. According to the estimated time, it will have to wait a few more days no matter what. Because when I was about to leave for the underwater forest the day before yesterday, my mother gave me a sea spirit pearl. With this sea spirit pearl and my hard work in these days of cultivation, I finally reached 10 o'clock. This is the line that Xiaojian had planned before. It turns out to be the power of money. Qin Fan looked envious. Hai Ling Zhu, that's an expensive thing. Xiaojian's parents have put in so much effort, it seems that Xiaojian's diligent cultivation has also stimulated them. With the spiritual power supply of the sea spirit pearl, the cultivation speed of the small sword will at least double again. Originally, when practicing in this underwater forest, the cultivation speed of the small sword was already 3 times that of the land. Now, with the addition of this sea spirit pearl, the speed can reach 4 times, or even 5 times. This is a very exaggerated value, which is also the reason why Hai Ling Zhu is so expensive. On the sea, Zhang Xiaojian looked up at his spiritual beast, Pipi Shrimp, and finally summoned it. It was really not easy. Although this skinned shrimp spirit beast is a phantom, it is lifelike with distinct scales and armor. If you don't look closely, you really think there's a big shrimp appearing in front of him. Zhang Xiaojian only glanced at it and was immediately attracted by the spirit beast. The shrimp before the meeting is very special, looking like a shrimp rather than a shrimp. It has the tail of a peacock, the forelimbs of a praying mantis, and the body of a shrimp, and its body structure is completely different from that of an ordinary shrimp. Looking again, the color of the scales on the body is even more colorful, with a dark green color throughout the body, orange-red tentacle scales, and black outer edges at the ends. The front edge of the head and chest armor has black and brown honeycomb-like patterns with white edges, and 3 pairs of chest, feet, and predatory claws are also red. It can be said to be colorful, magnificent and extraordinary. Zhang Xiaojian couldn't help but say, "You truly deserve to be my spirit beast, it looks as handsome as its owner." Qin Fan rolled his eyes, but he had to admit that the spiritual beast awakened by Zhang Xiaojian was indeed very beautiful. In fact, during his time at Blue Star, Zhang Xiaojian had also heard of creatures like skin shrimp. However, in the previous life, the average body length of the skin shrimp was over 10 centimeters, but here it is almost 1 meter, with a huge difference in body size. Pipi shrimp, formerly known as bird-tailed praying mantis shrimp. Although beautiful in appearance, the temperament is very fierce, with strong domain and aggression. Due to their extremely powerful pair of iron fists, their punches are as powerful as cannons, and they can easily explode the enemy's body and then leisurely eat, which is very brutal. Therefore, they are awarded the title of deep-sea boxing king. Xiaojian once heard some people who raise skinny shrimp say that skinny shrimp must be kept alone, otherwise it will slaughter all the creatures in the fish tank. And when the skin shrimp is unhappy, it will break the fish tank for you to see. So when raising such irritable little things, it's necessary to customize some bulletproof water tank specifically. On Blue Star, the size of the bird-tailed mantis shrimp is only over 10 centimeters. Now that the skin shrimp is about 1 meter long, the power of this iron fist is probably even more terrifying. The other two spiritual skills of Pipi shrimp, the eye of the sky and the colorful armor, Zhang Xiaojian has actually heard of some. For example, the eye of heaven. On Blue Star, the eyes of the bird-tailed mantis shrimp are very unique, as it possessed the most complex visual system in the world at that time. No one. Its eyes have 16 different types of photoreceptors that can distinguish a large number of colors, while humans can only see colors composed of 3 primary colors: red, green, and blue. That is to say, there are various colors in the world, with endless visual radiance that humans cannot imagine, and none of these can be seen by humans, but the bird-tailed mantis shrimp can. For example, the leaves we see are green because the light reflected by the sunlight shining on the leaves is green. In fact, when sunlight shines on leaves, it reflects not only green light, but also other rays of light that we humans cannot see. Secondly, the colorful armor on the body of the bird-tailed mantis shrimp is very hard, which can resist attacks from the iron fists of similar bird-tailed mantis shrimp. These are all data from the bird-tailed mantis shrimp on the Blue Star. Now, in this world full of spiritual power, with the nourishment of spiritual power, the skin shrimp will obviously become even stronger. So Zhang Xiaojian is still looking forward to his spirit beast skin shrimp. I hope to master those 3 spiritual skills earlier and see how powerful they are in this world. Okay, Qin Fan nodded as he looked at the beautiful shrimp in front of him. At this point, a spirit beast has been summoned, and it should have also given you its innate spiritual skills, right? Yes, Xiaojian nodded. When the Pipi shrimp summoned it, there was indeed a flow of information feedback from it to his mind. That's the cultivation method of spiritual skills. It's too late today, let's study together tomorrow morning, Qin Fan said. Good. The two of them spoke and slowly swam towards the ship. When the two climbed onto the gangway, they found a sturdy figure waiting there, which was their homeroom teacher, Gao Sheng. Gao Sheng's eyes scanned the two like eagles and falcons, as he kept scrutinizing Zhang Xiaojian, seemingly sensing something. He looked at Zhang Xiaojian and nodded meaningfully. Not bad, young people should have passion and perseverance. Alright, go rest now. Thank you for your concern, teacher, the two of them replied together. Note. In the hometown of Longbi, Pipi shrimp refers to the ras urine shrimp and the bird-tailed mantis shrimp. Some people search online and also say Pipi shrimp refers to the bird-tailed mantis shrimp, while others say not. Longbi is not a student of biology and is not very clear about it. It's a bit troublesome to make changes here, so let's just refer to Pipi shrimp as the bird-tailed mantis shrimp. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Luohan Fish Monster. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Luohan Fish Monster. In the cabin, Zhang Xiaojian, who was originally preparing to wash up, immediately got into bed but closed his eyes and fell asleep. Tired. I'm just too tired. He practiced from 6 a.m. until 3 p.m. in the middle of the night, and except for a brief 3-hour rest in the middle, he practiced for a total of 18 hours, and his body was completely at full capacity. When I was on the sea just now, it was okay. Now that I have successfully summoned the spirit beast, my breath relaxed and a huge sense of fatigue immediately swept through like a tide. The next morning, in Zhang Xiaojian's cabin. Xiaojian closed his eyes, carefully sensed the message from the spirit beast of Pipi Shrimp last night, and then mobilized the spirit power in his body to attack an orifice on the right fist face. Spiritual power flows rapidly like tide, but the orifice is as stable as a reef. The small sword struck several times before the orifice loosened slightly. At this point, most of Xiaojian's 10 spiritual powers have been consumed, and he needs to meditate and concentrate again. Xiaojian's face turned ugly for a moment, and Qin Fen was right. At this point, his spiritual power is too limited and his strength is insufficient. The effort required to open the orifices is several times that of others. Continuing to cultivate according to his process is not worth it. It's better to cultivate spiritual power first, and then open the orifices when spiritual power increases. This way, the efficiency is higher. Qin Fen yawned incessantly on the side. He didn't go to bed until 3 o'clock last night, and Zhang Xiaojian came over early this morning to teach spiritual skills. He really didn't get enough sleep. He glanced at Xiaojian, no need to ask, as he knew the result when he looked ugly. He was too lazy to speak up, let the small sword tinker on its own. This guy won't stop until he hits the south wall. This guy is also too persistent. With his current spiritual power value in his body, even if he truly possesses spiritual skills, he can probably cast them once, right? Then the spiritual power inside the body will be completely depleted, so what is the point of practicing hard like this? He shook his head and turned to deal with the breakfast that came from the cafeteria. Looking at the slightly loosened orifice, Xiaojian reluctantly opened the system. Q coin. 9 spiritual power. 10 plus spirit skill. 1. Eye of Heaven, upgraded or not, 2. Cannon Fist, upgraded or not, 3. Colorful Armor, upgraded or not. Zhang Xiaojian's gaze scanned back and forth between the 3 spiritual skills, hesitated for a moment, and then clicked to upgrade behind the Cannon Fist. Immediately, ding, Q coins are insufficient, please recharge in a timely manner. Tip. Upgrading the spirit skill Cannon Fist requires 10 Q coins. Zhang Xiaojian was completely stunned. For a long time upgrading one spiritual skill actually requires 10 Q coins, 10,000 yuan. Zhang Xiaojian didn't give up and clicked on the Eye of Heaven and the colorful armor again. Ding, Q coins are insufficient, please recharge in a timely manner. Tip. Upgrading the spiritual skill Eye of Heaven requires 10 Q coins. Ding, Q coins are insufficient, please recharge in a timely manner. Tip. Upgrading the spirit skill Colorful Armor requires 10 Q coins. One spiritual skill costs 10,000 yuan, and 3 spiritual skills cost 30,000 yuan. If we add the Q coins that usually enhance spiritual power, Zhang Xiaojian is ready to rob the bank. Where did he go to get so much money? The fish stall opened by his parents earns about 10,000 yuan a month through hard work. After deducting daily living expenses, rent, utilities, there isn't much left. By the way, Brother Fun, didn't you say you were going to fight monsters? Take me with you. At this moment, Zhang Xiaojian suddenly turned his body and looked at Qin Fen affectionately. Now his only hope is for Qin Fen to defeat the little monster and exchange some of his flesh and blood for Q coins to upgrade his spiritual skills. Xiaojian and Qin Fen naturally have different ideas. Now that he has a system, increasing his spiritual power is a simple matter, so the most important problem he is facing now is how to make money. Upgrading spiritual power and hunting monsters is obviously his best way so far. Wu Hao and Qing Feng have gone to find it. This is the rear of the army, and it's close to the land. How could it be so easy to encounter monsters? Qin Fen rolled his eyes silently and pushed away the hands that were warmly placed on his shoulders. Zhang Xiaojian is too enthusiastic and angry, it's hard to resist. Then please trouble brother Fun, is your breakfast delicious? Do you want me to bring some more? Zhang Xiaojian continued with a smile. If you're any more abnormal, I'll just throw you into the sea. For the next 2 days, Zhang Xiaojian spent all his time practicing. Q coin. 9 spiritual power. 11.8 plus spirit skill. 1. Eye of Heaven, upgraded or not, 2. Cannon Fist, upgraded or not, 3. Colorful Armor, upgraded or not, because he wanted to save money to upgrade his spiritual skills, Zhang Xiaojian did not use Q coins for the past 2 days. Instead, he practiced diligently and meditated for 15 hours every day. That night, as Qin Fen had just returned to the lounge, Zhang Xiaojian suddenly saw a boy briskly walking towards him in the hallway. Qing Feng, what's wrong? Qin Fen looked at the person and felt a slight movement in his heart. Zhang Xiaojian, who always looked at others, was a classmate and also the boy he had always admired before. He had a tentacled shrimp spirit beast and his name was Qing Feng. Qing Feng didn't speak, but glanced at Zhang Xiaojian first. Xiaojian is fine, you can just say it, Qin Fen said. Qing Feng then opened his mouth and said in a low voice, Brother Qin, today I found a dragon fish monster with Qing Feng in a place in the forest. However, Wu Hao said and couldn't help but pause for a moment. But what? That Arhat is in the middle of the grade. Qing Feng sighed. Qin Fen couldn't help but furrow his brow upon hearing this, but he quickly said, it's rare to find one. Let's work together and give it a try. There is still a chance of winning. Indeed, we have found the monster. On the side, Zhang Xiaojian's heart also moved. Luohan fish monster, the textbook has just explained the material of this kind of fish monster. This kind of fish and monster has rough skin and thick flesh, thick and hard scales and armor, and strong defense. It is difficult for the same level of sea guards to take advantage of it. This is also the reason why Qin Fen and Wu Hao frowned. At this time, they were only in the early stage of the first rank of sea guards, one level lower than this monster. However, because Qin Fen and his team are a team of 3, and Qin Fen's spirit beast is AAB. Level rock giant crab, if we really talk about it, their chances of winning will be even higher. However, in practice, it is not just about having high panel data that one can win. There are also other factors involved. For example, combat experience, holding time underwater, and so on. Tomorrow morning at dawn, let's take action immediately to prevent it from wandering away. Qing Feng said eagerly, if we can really win it, then we'll make a lot of money. At night, the visibility in the water is extremely low, and it can be said that you can't see your fingers when reaching out. They haven't opened the main acupoint and eye opening yet, so it's impossible for them to fight and can only wait until dawn. N. Qin Fen nodded and waved his hand, patting Xiaojian's shoulder. Xiaojian, your opportunity has come. Tomorrow morning, you will also come with us, just in time to witness the real battle of the Imperial Sea Masters. That's good. Xiaojian was already a bit moved, and when Qin Fen mentioned it, he naturally responded. Hearing this, Qing Feng nearby frowned. They were not sure enough to win the fish. Now they are burdened with Zhang Xiaojian. Isn't it asking for trouble? This is a real battle against monsters, not just a passing game. If you're not careful, you may get injured or even die. Qing Feng glanced at Zhang Xiaojian twice, opened his mouth, hesitated for a moment, but still didn't say anything. However, in tomorrow's battle, Qin Fen, who has B.level spirit beasts, is the main force, and he and another person are cooperating in firepower output, so it is difficult for him to face Qin Fen at this time. Qing Feng, I'll trouble you tomorrow. At this moment, Zhang Xiaojian turned around and took the initiative to talk to Wu Hao, with a sincere attitude. It's okay, you can watch on the side and don't disturb us, Qing Feng said lightly. I understand that. Qing Feng turned around and said a few more words to Qin Fen before leaving. After Qing Feng left, Qin Fen still said excitedly to Xiaojian, you're really lucky. We are not the only ones in Hongqing underwater forest, but students from other schools also come here to practice. In the long run, it can be said that there are more monks than meat, so it is quite difficult to find a monster. If we can kill the fish tomorrow, you will have a good luck. The flesh and blood of demon beasts contain a large amount of spiritual power, which is greatly beneficial to our sea master. Now you can improve your spiritual power by a few more points. And the demon pills inside their bodies are also great supplements, containing extremely abundant spiritual power. Whether it's used for cultivation and absorption, or sold directly, it's all very good. Seeking recommendation, seeking collection, end of this chapter.